Richard Norman Chip Williams was a former NASCAR publicist back in the day that was born in 1957. Williams was NASCAR spokesman in 1982. Most notably, he was mainly remembered announcing the death of J.D. McDuffie at the 1991 Watkins Glen Cup race. Chip kept his role as NASCAR spokesman until March 1st, 1994. In 1994, Chip Williams resigned from his spokesman role to start his own business called Williams Company of America Incorporated, which I would assume it was a publicist or agency company for NASCAR. I'm not sure. I looked up what it was, but there was no information or anything about Chip's company. However, all I know is that the company represented three drivers: John Andretti, Kyle Petty, and Bobby Labonte, and I'm sure there were like other drivers. In Chip's NASCAR career, he has been a spokesperson and a publicist. He was quite a NASCAR worker who had done a lot for the series back in the day. However, he has a really dark side, so dark and disgusting that will make you want to forget about his credibility in NASCAR. Warning, the stories and details I'm going to mention in this episode are disturbing and upsetting. Very disturbing. If you are understandably sensitive about the subject I will mention in this episode, I suggest you to click off or exit the video. I want to give you guys a warning and heads up before I begin because what Chip did is extremely horrifying. This episode is for educational purpose only. With that being said, let's continue. While NASCAR land were preparing for the 2006 season and also getting ready for Daytona Speed Weeks, a shocking and disturbing news was revealed. On January 31st, 2006, ESPN reported that Chip Williams was arrested in the parking lot of the Guilford County Church and was charged in federal court with first sex offense for stationary rape and soliciting a minor for sex on the internet for the purpose of making pornography, according to authorities. Sheriff B.J. Barnes said that the investigations targeted Chip Williams after receiving information about a 4-year relationship between Chip and a 15-year-old girl who met online back in 2002 and had sexual encounters with her at the Guilford Courthouse National Military Park. The victim of Chip told authorities that Chip claimed he victimized more than 50 children across the country. The affidavit was part of the search warrant sought by Guilford County Sheriff's detectives as officers prepared to search Williams' home and business in Marsville. Chip Williams was being held for a $2 million bond. The affidavit filed by Detective George Moore describes how the case against Williams developed, starting with the 14-year-old girl's claim that she began performing sex acts for Wisham when she was 11. Moore said that he read a sexually explicit online conversation between a girl and John Wisham, which was a fake name for Chip Williams used to talk to minors online, then watched as she engaged the man in another explicit conversation over the internet. Another day, the girl met Josh Wisham online again, and this item introduced an undercover officer who posed as a 15-year-old girl, the affidavit said. Soon after the conversation began, Wisham, which is Chip Williams, allegedly began talking about sex. After several more online chats with the undercover officer, police traced Wisham's email to Williams' company. 1 year later, on June 2007, Chip Williams pleaded guilty for his action and was found guilty of having sex with the 11-year-old whom he met on the internet and was sentenced to 26 years in prison. U.S. District Court Judge William Austin Sr. said, quote, "This is by far involves far more torture and forms of activity the court has ever seen in a case of this nature." 1 month later, on July 9, 2007, Chip Williams was given another prison term. He was given a concurrent sentence of 20 years to nearly 25 years in prison for those various charges he had done. The victim's mother told the court that she did not think the sentence Williams was receiving was steep enough. Her mother said, quote, "My daughter came forward. He saved not only herself, but she saved other victims." The news and record does not generally identify victims of sexual assault and is withholding the mother's name to shield the child's identity. This whole story, which is not only saddening and heartbreaking for the victims, but just horrifyingly, extremely disgusting for a monster like Chip Williams, who reached his goal in his career that we would kill for, but tarnished it to be a monster who goes after children. Chip Williams should have gotten capital punishment, but unfortunately, the justice system is broken. Chip Williams went from a respected NASCAR spokesperson, a NASCAR publicist, to a horrifying monster's parents fear for. Whenever he somehow does get out of prison, I hope he gets nothing but shame and karma. As for the victims, I hope they're doing okay. If you or anybody you know that are victims of sexual assault, called RAIN, which stands for Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, which is a national sexual assault hotline, their number is 1-800-656-4673. Before this episode concludes, I want to clarify that I am a motorsports content creator that tells stories about racing. I am not a crime content creator. If there was anything I got wrong or missed, please feel free to tell me in the comments below. I'm not going to do my normal outro due to the touchy story, which would be very inappropriate to do. All I can say is thank you all for watching. Stay safe, protect yourself and your loved ones, and always protect the kids.